and welcome to the Sports Report here on JCTV. I'm Matt Keeney, and with me today is head softball coach here at Jefferson College, Tony Cook.
Thanks, Matt.
How you doing?
Good. You?
I'm good, and thanks for coming in. First, let's just talk about last season. Vikings softball is coming off a very successful 2008, 18-2 in the conference. It's the second straight conference title and a 35-15 overall record. And this season, a nice start so far to 2009, an 8-4 overall record as of March 12th, and a 2-0 conference record as of March 12th. So you're off to a good start in 2009. What are the goals, though, you set at the beginning of the year whenever you guys, get to the field and start practicing?
Our goals are always the same each and every year. It's, we always want to go to that 40-win plateau, and then after that, we always want to compete and win our conference, and then that regional title after that. And then it's always to the national tournament, which this year is in St. George, Utah.
All right. Obviously, many times the season starts off with some road trips around the late February and March era. And you had two. You went to Springfield, Missouri, and also took a bit farther of a trip out to Alabama. So can we kind of recap those two trips? How did those go for you?
Sure. First tournament we were in was down in Springfield, down at the Evangel Classic Invitational, and we ended up going 2-0. We ended up beating Cotty College 8-0, and then we came back for the second game of that first day and beat Neosho 3-2 on a very cold evening. It was around 17 degrees with snow flurries that day when we finished that game. So would have liked to play the second day of the tournament, but unfortunately it was canceled due to snow. We got about 6 inches down that way on our way home, so ended up going 2-0, and that's the way that tournament went that day. And then the following week, we end up with some nice weather and end up in Coleman, Alabama. Started off with a really good tournament, played the number 3 team in the country, which was Wallace-Hansville. And they whooped us pretty good. We learned from that. We see where we got to make some adjustments and some changes. And so they got us 7-0. And then we come back in our pool play, because it was a 3-game pool play the very first day. And we played Walter State, which was ranked 10th. And they beat us 9-6. We had a 5-1 lead, and we lost that lead to them in the 7th inning. Players, I think, were getting a little tired. We went down there with a 4-0 record. We were playing teams with Walters was 19-4 at the time, and so they had some more gains, some more energy. So they come back and got us that game 9-6, and then we came back that next morning, and we won our third game of the pool, and we ended up going 1-2 in pool play, and so. We come back and went into bracket play after that and beat Snead State, and then we was 2-2, and then we ended up losing our final 2 and we went 2-4 down there in Alabama. So a little disappointment. Wanted to do a little better than what we did and make a little better showing for the Midwest and in Region 16. But overall, every team we played down there was a ranked team, and I thought we played. We competed well. It's just we didn't get some of the breaks that we needed to win some games.
And a nice mix on this year's squad of sophomores and freshmen. So first, let's talk about the sophomores. You have a couple of very good players coming back. Natalie Sago comes to mind. She can pitch, she can hit, she can play the field. Brittany Ponder, very good third baseman, as well as quite a few other names in that sophomore group. So can we kind of highlight a few of them? Brittany
Ponder is, she's a utility type player for us. She plays a little outfield, a little third base. She'll do anything you ask of her. Currently right now we had her in the 8th position in our batting order. Before that, she was, our leadoff at one time. So she's done really well this year coming on as a sophomore in a leadership role. She's one of our team captains and, an outstanding individual in person. And, she does this on and off the field with her academics. And, Natalie Sago, a girl from Farmington, Missouri, very good as an outfield. We brought her in as a pitcher originally, and we utilize her at second base. We put her in the outfield, and she's thrown a little bit for us this year already. And last year she went 11-1. So with our pitching this year, it's kind of she's limited on her innings this year, but so far she's done a really good job. She's in our number 1 hole in the batting order. She's our leadoff and doing a great job for us there. So between those two, they're doing a good job. And we got Molly Currington also from Farmington. She's a redshirt sophomore this year. Came back from a pretty severe knee injury, and currently right now she has 4 home runs and 10 games for us, and she's doing a really good job of staying disciplined, working on hard, and so she's doing a really good job on defense of knowing her limits with the bad knee that she has. So I think she's done a really great job of trying to control what she's going to do for the length of the season here. And we got some other ones. We got Christy Emerick from Windsor. She's our only county kid, but she's doing a really good, nice job behind the plate for us now as a catcher. She had a little arm trouble earlier in the season. Right now, she's we think she's at 100%, and she's showing it this last. Just yesterday we played St. Charles, and she did really well for us. So we got a really nice mix of our sophomores. We're going to miss them next year for sure because of their leadership roles that they've been showing, and we'll bring in a new mix next year. That's what one thing about junior college. It's never once you get used to them, and the next thing you know they're gone, and that's tough to do with. But that's that's part of junior college softball. It's always a rotation of players coming in and out.
And you also have some nice freshmen who are in with the Viking softball program now. Brittany Feeney, the outfielder. Jackie Griffin actually helped us do some color commentary on the game the other day, so that was very nice of her. And Jordan Crisp, the other day against St. Charles, a very nice game. She pitched 6 shutout innings there, got the win. I think struck out 8. So, what about some of these new faces on the team?
Jordan Crisp and Courtney Dosa, the girl from California. They're right now, our 1 and 2 pitchers. Lately they've been dominating on the mound. They got a strong stature to them. They come out, they try to compete as hard, at high level as they can, and so they want to dominate each and every game. It doesn't always end up that way sometimes, but for the most part, it does for them, and they're working at elevating their game even more as we speak. The other freshmen we got coming, we got a nice mixture of infielders and outfielders, and overall of them, it's a good nucleus to what we're going to bring in for the following year in 2010. So, but they're contributing this year an awful lot. They're all getting to see a lot of innings, a lot of playing time. So, I think that'll help them next year, and their role is, more likely is when they become leadership for us for next season.
And how big of a role do the sophomores play with the freshmen, not only in getting them used to playing collegiate softball on the field, but also, balancing their classes, in some cases being away from home, being away from mom and dad, things like that?
It's tough, and that's a big part of, of a sophomore's role for us is, show them the ropes of, coming in here, every high school player comes to, to the college level, they were all, the big stars at their own high school level, and so now they're here, and they're just another player for us until they prove their, where they're worth, and so it helps our sophomores to kind of put them in place sometimes, let them know that, hey, you got to beat one of our players, to take this position away from them. And so egos can get in the way sometimes, and that's where our sophomores come in really good about, helping us out with that and keeping our players to where they understand our philosophy on the game, what we want out of them, and things like that. And so, we look back to our sophomores for a lot of help in that way, for that purpose.
Right. And let's talk about versatility for a bit. As I look through your roster, and we touched on this before, I see many players some can pitch and play the field, some play many different infield positions or play the infield and the outfield. As watching some collegiate baseball, it seems a lot different for the fact that, these players on the softball side can play many different positions. Is that a virtue of the game, or is it more just something that you try to develop on your team here?
We like to try to take our players and utilize them as much as possible. And we talk to them about that, and for they to understand, to get in the game, you got to be versatile. And so it may mean that, you have to play some outfield, you may have to play some infield, unless you're just a dominating person at a certain position. And all depending on how they're hitting in the games, we would like to see them play multiple positions. In softball, you don't carry big numbers like you do in baseball. We don't see a 30 and 40-man roster. We're usually around the 15 to 18 personnel range. So for that, the more versatile are, I think that is, the better off we're going to be as a team.
And another trip coming up, a road trip to Branson, Missouri in the recent future. So let's kind of preview that if you could.
Branson's a good tournament. We didn't participate in that tournament last year, but this year we're back into it again. It's kind of a unique format. We've got all the Missouri teams going to verse the Iowa teams this year. We got Muscatine down there, Iowa Central. We got Indian Hills, Iowa Western, and Kirkwood also. So it's kind of going to be a unique tournament. We're going to do a round robin format, and each team's going to play. All the Iowa teams from Missouri is going to play them, and then the Iowas, vice versa. So it's going to be unique because we're going to get to see a couple district teams that we're going to have to get past to go on to the national tournament, which is Iowa Western and Indian Hills. So we're going to get to see them early, see what we got to do. If we struggle against them, and if we have success against them, then what we need to work on to make sure but when we get to districts, that we can beat them again a second time.
Let's talk about recruiting for a second. As we've talked about, a couple of players from California on the roster, as well as players from all over the state of Missouri or the Midwest part of Missouri. So, how do you get players to come here that are not from the Jefferson County area and, even from other states like California?
For the first, the foremost, we always want to try to get county players first. That's where we always look. And then after that, we, expand our horizon. We look around to the within the interstate. And after that, we'll go external and kind of go out to Kansas, Colorado, even California, like we picked up. We, in the summer, the coaches do a really good job. We go to a lot of camps. We go to exposure tournaments, and we look at players and evaluate them. And that's how we put our name out there. That way, if somebody's, got a player that they're looking for a place, that, looking at an institution like Jefferson College, and we can help them with their, their academics and their athletics, then maybe that's a good fit for them. Maybe they're not ready to go to a big university, but they're, they're wanting to go to a junior college first, maybe to improve their game to go to the next level. Then they've been calling us, and that's a great for us. That it says something about their program, it says something about our college, and so that's helping us with our recruiting, because even though we're out there knocking on doors at all these high schools and summer teams, we've got coaches calling us now saying, hey, we've got this player, we know about your place, we know about your program, would you be interested in coming and take a look at this girl? And so that's helping us a lot in our recruiting for, kids that's out of the state, even out of the country. We're starting to go, expand into Canada even. We've been looking at some players up in there, and hopefully, if one comes on, we'll take one. But like I said, we're always looking in our county too, within Jefferson County. We've got a good rapport with all the high school coaches here in the county. We think that there's some good talent in here, especially for next year. We've got our eye on a few of them, and so we don't want to lose that. So we're going to work hard with those coaches and see if we can get those players to come here next year.
We often hear about, style of play, and I know your team does have some players who can hit home runs, but there's also some speed at the top of the lineup. Is there any particular style you can put into words for us, or how would you at least characterize how your team plays?
We kind of do two formats on our, we've got some power hitters on our team, but when the weather is not cooperating like it has been lately, the long ball doesn't want to travel so much. So then we go to what we call a rabbit game, and that's where we bunt and run a lot. We steal a lot of bases, and so we go to, and it's also called the short game. So we'll utilize that as the games go on. Plus, it all depends on what the defenses of the other teams are offering us. If they're, they're playing back and they're giving us that short game, then we'll take advantage of that. If they're playing us close and trying to take that away, then we let our hitters go in there and swing away and try to get that double or that triple or the home run.
All right. Well, Tony, is there anything else you'd like to add or highlight?
I think we covered pretty much a lot of things. I would like to say, I think we got a unique coaching staff here because we've been established. We've been together for 3 or 4 years now, and they're going to be back next year. And so we got some stability here with our coaching staff. And we like to say we're developing some good players that's traveling on to the next level. And we've been pretty successful at doing that. And so I just like to let everybody know that we do have a good staff here. That if you got somebody out there that's a player looking at Jefferson College, we're the team to come to.
Okay, Tony Cook, the head coach of the women's softball team here at Jefferson College. Thanks so much for coming in.
Matt, you're welcome.
And stick with us, folks. After the break, we'll visit with head women's basketball coach here at Jefferson College, Kevin Emerick, and talk with him about the team's quest for a national title.
You may not know their names, but the students who are helped through a Jefferson College Foundation scholarship carry thanks in their hearts. It's for the kindness that our contributors have shown. Make a difference in their tomorrows.
Education, the great equalizer. It doesn't just mean you get more knowledge, it means you improve your quality of life.
Give to the Jefferson College Foundation today.
Hi, and thanks for being with us here on the Sports Report on JCTV. I'm joined by head women's basketball coach here at Jefferson College, Kevin Emerick, Thanks so much for coming in.
Great to be here.
And since you were here last a couple of weeks ago, of course, we've had some great new developments in the women's basketball program here. You all finished the regular season 29-0, the first undefeated season in the history of Jefferson College women's basketball. And of course, now your record is 31-0 after winning 2 games in the Region 16 tournament and capturing your 3rd straight Region 16 crown. So I guess first of all, can we kind of just recap the Region 16 tournament and how the 2 games there went, the first win against Three Rivers and then the win in the finals against Mineral Area?
Yeah, the Three Rivers game was tough, Matt. I mean, we jumped out to a big lead, and they came back and tied at 34 all in the first half and went ahead, and they got a 2-point or 3-point lead on us. I think we had a 3-point lead on them at halftime, so it was a really tight game at half. And we pulled away in the second half, won by 18, but it was a much closer game than that. So that game was really tough, really intense. You could tell it was tournament basketball from the beginning. Just as soon as the ball went up, you could just tell it wasn't regular season anymore. It was tournament basketball. So a lot of credit to Three Rivers. They played well. And close halftime game turned into an 18-point win, but still tough game. And Mineral, we just kind of jumped out and started shooting the ball really well against Mineral Area and got a lead on them, I think, of 20 or 21-1, and just blew them out early, and they just never could get back in the basketball game. Did a better job than we did against Three Rivers of just closing out the game, and ended up winning by about 30, and it was a great championship game and great way to end the region season, and real proud of our kids for, it's hard to get one let alone get 3 in a row, and it just means we got good players, and it's just a great thing to have a three-peat like that and go into the national tournament again.
And going back to the Three Rivers game, that semifinal game, you did win. As we mentioned, the score was 80-62, but you did touch on the fact that they came back late in the first half and tied things up after you had a fairly large lead. So how at halftime, what do you tell your players to kind of get them riled up and maybe, get that lead back?
Absolutely,
in an important game like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's exactly what we're thinking about going in at halftime. What are we going to say? And my first words in the locker room were, do you believe me now, freshmen? How tough tournament basketball is. Do you believe me now? And they certainly did, and like I said, it was a great wake-up call for us. And we made a couple of adjustments at halftime. We attacked their zone a little bit different, got the ball inside in the middle a little bit more in the paint, and turned and looked for the wings, and then looked for the block person. And Danielle got the ball to Shaq a lot on the block, and if not, kicked it out to the wings. And so we attacked their zone a little different. We made an adjustment, but the big thing, like you mentioned, was what do you tell them? You tell them, hey, this is tournament basketball, you better step it up.
And let's real quick go behind some of the numbers in that first Three Rivers game. Danielle Adams, of course, one of your 2 preseason All-Americans, just a great player, 13 points, 6 assists. LaToya Johnson, the other preseason All-American, 10 points, 10 assists. And then 3 of your better players as well, Deanna Voinova, Ashley Brown, and Shaq Wiggins together made 16 of 19 from the floor, and they totaled 35 points in the paint. Portia Porter scored 11, had 3 assists, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals. And then Wiggins, 17 points and 12 rebounds. And then Cherokee Barrett, one of the great defensive players on your team, played some great defense. So it sounded like an overall great team effort there. Yeah,
that's a great recap. It took all that. I mean, to really get past them, we really had to play well to get by them. And, Shaq, I think, was 7 or 8 of 9 from the floor. She leads the nation in free throw or field goal percentage. So she just had a great game inside, and she got some great passes to her, as we mentioned earlier, from Danielle. Toya had 10 assists, pushed the ball real well, and attacked their zone real well. And Cherokee just did a great job in the second half. We put her in the middle of our 3-man zone, switching up top on defense. She was always guarding their ball handler and did a great job shutting down their ball handler. And Three Rivers has got some good players, and that's a great recap of the game. And it took everybody to get that W.
Great. And let's talk about some of the numbers from the finals game. The Mineral Area won that one 84-50. You jumped out quickly there with like a 17-1 lead. And Johnson in that game, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Adams with 22 points, 11 rebounds, right around her averages, maybe a little lower, but right around there. She also had 4 blocks, so played a little defense and was 9 of 14 from the field. Voinova, 8 points and 8 rebounds, and Ashley Brown, 12 points and 7 boards. So again, you just have a lot of people playing the roles that needed to be played in these postseason games.
I think depth. I think reading that right there just tells you that the depth is so important in the postseason, and whether that's a region tournament or national tournament, we've got great depth, and we can go 7, 8, 9 kids pretty easily deep on our bench. And that second game was certainly an indication of that in the region. We were able to rest some people, and people came off the bench and did a great job coming in. And we match up well against Mineral. I mean, we've got some post players, got some size that they don't have. They've got great guards, and they've got some good posts. They just don't have the size we've got. So we're fortunate in that matchup. And, it was a good game for our kids, and it was a great region win again.
And so, like we said, Region 16 champs for the third straight year for Jefferson College women's basketball. And as you might expect, we probably would have a few names on that all-region team, which was announced recently. Adams, Johnson, Portia Porter were selected to the first team, and Voinova selected to the second team. So can you kind of talk about those honors? And I'm sure it's a great feeling for those players.
It is. I mean, to have Portia get on there as a freshman on first team says a lot about the kind of season she had this year. I mean, it's just hard to get a freshman on the first team. There's so many good sophomores in the region and deserving sophomores. It's tough to get a freshman on there. And then Deanna getting a second team or honorable mention on the all-region team was really special because her numbers aren't great, but they're solid. Every night she's got 7-8 points, 7-8 rebounds, just does a great job defensively on the other team's post player. So it was nice to get her on there. And, I think everybody's All-American and All-Region. Danielle and Toya, we can't say enough about them. And they were the 1-2 picks in the region. Danielle, just a hair, got a few more points than Toya did for Player of the Year in the region, but it was pretty much a dead tie between those two for who was the best player in the region, and I'm real proud of that.
All right, well, we'll take a quick break here on the Sports Report, and when we come back, we'll talk with Kevin about the national tournament coming up, and we'll talk about what kind of support here around the Jefferson College campus it takes to put together such a successful team like this. We'll be right back.
Very affordable. They have a convenient tutoring schedule that works around my schedule.
Jefferson College is very challenging.
They have a diverse campus.
This is the very beginning of the second part of my life, and I have a new sense of direction and a new passion in my life.
They are committed with my success.
The quality of education here, I would give it a 10.
I'm Kimberly Clark.
I'm Shayna Payton.
I'm Jose Soloria.
I'm Rachel Schrage.
I'm Della Selman.
I'm Nick Schaefer.
I'm Stacy Self, and I discovered my future at Jefferson College.
Welcome back to the Sports Report here on JCTV. I'm Matt Keeney, and we are talking with Kevin Emerick, head women's basketball coach at Jefferson College. And we mentioned in the first segment some of the great numbers in the region games and the success that the team has had. And I would imagine, obviously, the players and coaches, are a big part of that success, but there's a lot of support as well around campus, around the community.
Oh, yeah.
So can you kind of talk about what that means to the team?
Well, our crowds this year have gotten better. I think everybody that's been to games has realized that. So we've had some great fan support and just our campus support in general at our games, and the crowds and the people that support these young ladies is tremendous. And that's general support, the support we get from our fans and people on campus. But there's a lot of support, here that goes deeper than that. I mean, whether it's JCTV doing bits and putting our games on TV and taping, it really helps us out. Our academic success program with Jason Gardner and all the people that run that for our student athletes. Just everybody. The faculty is tremendous. I mean, we've got great tutoring for our kids, and you can't be in a sports season from September until April without having some great academic assistance on campus, and we've got that here for our kids. The foundation does so much to help promote the college, and we just want to supplement what the foundation does. Our administrative support is just second to none in the country. We've got good scholarship money. Our Jefferson College, our Viking Woods Housing does a lot to support our student athletes. So there's just so much here on campus and so much support that we get. And it takes all those people to put together a national program like this where the kids actually have a chance to be successful, because it starts from the time you identify a recruit until you actually bring them on campus, get them started in school, make sure they're academically solid. Then we take care of basketball. And so that's the last thing we really do. And to have this much success basketball-wise, all those other things have to be in place or you can't have it.
And obviously the next challenge for the Jeffco women's basketball team is the national tournament that's coming up here in mid-March. Very, very soon that's coming up. So looking ahead, it's in Salina, Kansas. The Vikings are a #1 seed, and it looks like you're set to take on Highland Community College out of Freeport, Illinois. So can you kind of tell me what the research you've been doing and some of the, the characteristics you think this matchup will entail?
Yeah, sure. Highland is, we had somebody at the region championship or the district game that they played just earlier this week, and I would say they're a cross between Three Rivers and Mineral Area. They've got some athleticism. They've got 1 or 2 post players that are pretty good. They've got some good guards that really shoot it from the outside. Size-wise, they're not as big as us, but they'll be just as quick, and they'll probably shoot it a little better from the perimeter than we do. So it's really like a Mineral or a Three Rivers game. Tough game. Any given night, they can shoot themselves into the game, and you really got to control their post players or you're going to get in trouble. So that's kind of how we look at them. It's a good first-round matchup for us. Any game you get down there in the final 16, they're going to be tough, and Highland's going to be tough. But we got to come out and play well. And if we do, I think we got some good chance to have a success in that game, and maybe make it to the Elite Eight. But we've got to play well, and we've got to really control their shooters.
How important do you think it is to grab that #1 seed in the tournament?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that we talked about that all year. We didn't really talk about being the #1 team in the nation. We talked about keeping that #1 seed for the national tournament. And if they do a good job seeding the tournament, you should get a fairly winnable game in that first round, as winnable as it can be, considering there's 16 teams that are out of 200 across the country. Everybody's done something to get there. But I think we got a good matchup. I think Central Arizona's got a good matchup at the #2 seed. So either one of those top 2 seeds are going to have good games, not by any means easy games, tough games, but they're winnable games if we come out and play well.
Right, and Central Arizona College, the #2 seed in the tournament, also 31-0 so far in the season. So, you very well could come against another team that has an undefeated record when it's all said and done. So.
Very easily. And, Walter State was undefeated as well, got dropped to a 5 seed, even though they were one of 3 undefeated teams in the country. So we could see Walter State, if we're fortunate enough to make it in the round of 4, 2 games into the tournament, we could see Walter State or Chipola College out of Florida, who we've beaten once already this year in Florida. It's going to get tough. I mean, if you can get that first win, you get into that Elite Eight, anybody can win it. There's not 5 points to separate those final 8 teams, and there may not be 10, 15 points to separate the whole field. So it's going to be a tough draw for us, but we're glad to have the #1. I think our kids deserve it. They worked hard all year to get it. They worked hard last year to get preseason #1 this year, and I'm glad they held it and got the #1 seed.
And something we've talked about in previous episodes here, and as well was highlighted at the last home game, was the sophomores who will be, playing their final games here at Jefferson College in that national tournament. And again, we can go over their names: Danielle Adams and LaToya Johnson, 2 very excellent players, 2 of the best we've ever had here at Jefferson. And as I mentioned, the preseason All-Americans as well as All-Americans last season. Then Cherokee Barrett as well, Trish and Shea Williams, the twins, Deanna Voinova and Danae Beavers, all great sophomores. And just some of these numbers, we've talked about these before, but let's talk about them again because they're just amazing. They're 63-3, this sophomore class, with just 1 regular season loss in the past 2 years. They've won 53 straight games outside of the national tournament. And then just amazing as well, since 2006, 2007, the program's record since you started, 94-8. So again, can you talk about their dedication and intensity? And we also have some great freshmen who more than likely will be back next year. So, but that sophomore class, just incredible.
They are incredible, and we kind of feel like we had the first class that we were here without those sophomores that were 31-5, and that kind of set the stage to bring those sophomores in as freshmen last year. And so we were fortunate to have that first group that went 31-5 and made the national tournament, and then you're able to bring a good group of freshmen in, and of course that's how we got these 7 sophomores. And the 3-year record is amazing, but that just speaks about good players and good support. We just had great players here, and to lose these sophomores and just have 4 or 5 freshmen coming back, we're going to have a big rebuilding job next year. I mean, because these are great kids, they're good students, and they just have gotten so much better since they've gotten here on campus. We tell the story about a big-time coach came in and watched these kids when they first got here as freshmen, those kids the previous year, and said, "Boy, Coach, it's going to be a long couple of years for you. Your talent's not great. You got Danielle, and we know she's a great player, but boy, the supporting cast doesn't look great, And boy, these kids have really proven everybody wrong because they've gotten better every year. And of course, Danielle's been great, and Toya's been great and gotten a lot better. But the other kids have gotten better too. The twins and Cherokee, Danae, and Deanna have gotten so much better in the past year and a half that it just really makes us proud of their work ethic and how much they've improved. And they deserve the recognition they're getting, and we're going to miss them a lot.
And Danielle Adams, we were talking earlier, you got to think she has a great shot at being named National Player of the Year. So talk about that.
It's a great point. She was runner-up last year, Matt, and I think that, I think she's got to be the top candidate this year to have at least a shot at getting it. And if she's not going to get it, I don't know who is, but maybe they're going to bring a 4-year kid down to give it to her. But as far as 2-year junior colleges across the country, Danielle's got to be the top player in the country. And there are a lot of people vote on that, and there's a committee set up, and we won't know till next week. But, I'm betting on her if I got to bet on who's going to get it.
And the Vikings and Jefferson College getting a little bit more exposure recently as News Channel 5, KSDK, and Frank Cusimano came down to do a story on you all, and it aired on their sports cast, during one of their newscasts. So how exciting was that for you and the kids to just get a little bit more exposure? Obviously, they have a larger audience than JCTV or KJFF can provide. So
yeah, it was really neat. We kind of got a call out of the blue, and probably because of some of your exposure and some of the things Roger Barentine does here on campus. Channel 5 got interested in what we were doing and came down this week and spent about an hour with us yesterday afternoon and did a great job putting together a bit for their sports program last night, and to get us some exposure. And Frank's a great guy. Everybody on the team got to meet him, and all the coaches got to speak with him a little bit. And very intelligent, picked up things really quick, and knew our roster and knew our team and some of the things you're talking about with our record. And he picked up the other stuff really quick. Great guy, and really glad to get on St. Louis TV and get these kids some well-deserved exposure.
And if you missed that, at least as of March 12th, it was on the KSDK website under their sports page. So it may still be up there for a few days, and if you want to check that out, click on that. And is there anything else you'd like to add today or touch on?
No, I really appreciate you guys and just taking care of filming all the games you've done, for these kids over the last 2 years. And we're going to go out there and do the best job we can, at Nationals and make sure that we try to come home with a trophy. And, you can't say you're going to win a national championship, but this year I think we've got a chance to compete for a national championship, and that's been a 3-year process. So we're going to do the best we can to represent the college as well as we can, Matt.
All right. Well, it's been our pleasure to do the games that we can on JCTV. They're a lot of fun to watch. And Kevin Emerick, head coach of the Jefferson College women's basketball team, thanks so much for coming in, and good luck in the national tournament.
Thanks, Matt.